Hi there guys, in this video we'll be looking at Rebirth version 4. I don't have the Homer Light add-on, so it will be primarily looking at the base game. In the previous video somebody said you could change the setting to make the HUD bigger. I've looked through all the graphic settings, the game options. I could only find one setting, but I couldn't see anything here to make the HUD any larger. The only one I did find was under game settings, and I've already got it on, so I'm not entirely sure what he was referring to. So I will be looking at this in 4K. Like I said, I don't think too much has changed around the plots, although I wasn't expecting much to be changed. I think they are fixed for now. So I'll be looking at specific features. So guys, the first thing I want to touch on is the HUD. Running in 4K, it's kind of very hard to see. I mean, if you can see this little radio menu, I can barely read it. I suppose if you're watching in 1080p, which I guess most people will be, that you probably can't make this text out. It's a bit of a shame that they haven't made the font bigger for higher resolutions. So the next point I want to touch on is the bulletin board system. Now this is something that's been added in version 4. In all thing, I think it's a really good addition, to be honest. Instead of having to find these little silly symbols, which I couldn't really see, you have now got a screen showing you all the missions locally. This way you can go through and pick which ones you want. I did take a mission on last night and it completed and did everything okay. So it was definitely a welcome addition to the system. Like I said, it even gives you the difficulty, and then you've got this screen here explaining what you need to do in a little bit more detail and showing you the rewards and other bits and pieces. Like I said, it's definitely one of the better things, I think, and like I said, I can see that being pretty useful. So this brings me on to my next point, which is the trading. Not too much has changed with trading in particular. We still have to find these little deals to unlock, which I am not particularly that happy about. Then we're presented with this menu, which really kind of doesn't explain much.
How much?
It's just more confusing letters and numbers. Really, it doesn't really explain what's going on. Like I said, I think the trading should have been done in a much more simpler system. I think you should have had a cargo bay on the ship and simply stuck the cargo in there.
Make sure you on your side
then
of the deal.
take it somewhere and sell it. I've just, I guess, bought something as such. I mean, I know I wrote the guides and explaining it all quite a while back, but it's been such a long time that I've kind of forgot how the trading works in this now, and it's something that isn't particularly easy. I know they've added a menu as such to help with that, and I guess if you're up to date with the trading stuff, that this menu possibly could help, but as it stands at the moment it doesn't seem that helpful. Like I said, I would rather the trading reverted to a more simplistic form. So this brings me on to my next point, which is graphics. Now, using the platform is an easy way to show you. This is probably more not specific to Rebirth, but in the future for Ubisoft. They spent quite a long time developing this engine, and I think they're going to use this engine possibly in another game in the future. So I'm looking at it now to see how it's going to look in the future. I don't know how much they can increase the graphics as such, but when you look at the floor like this, for example, the textures don't look particularly very good. I know this was done in 4K and I've uploaded it to YouTube, so you won't be able to see it possibly, but it doesn't seem that higher quality to me. If they were trying to release a 2016 game with this engine, I think it would be seriously kind of problematic. I mean, when you look at the little handle here, it looks really blocky, and the textures don't look all that great. Maybe they haven't spent much time on this part of the game, but I'm going to say in if an engine in the future, they're going to have to improve the graphics quite a lot. I did find quite a few blurry textures, I think, on this foot. So it doesn't look too bad on this sort of angle. When you actually get really up and close and personal, you can see even there's actual textures kind of not being aligned properly, which I know isn't a big thing, but it just it's a bit kind of immersion breaking, if you know what I mean. What I was talking about in lowest quality textures is down on the foot there. I mean, that's pretty low scale, low resolution. So like I said, if they were to release a new game, say X4, I would hope that the engine's going to look a bit better in this. I would think they would have to put DirectX 11 support in at least. It would be nice if they would move into DirectX 12 or Vulkan. But anyway guys, that's a quick look at the graphics, which frame rate rise is actually okay, but I just think some of the textures and details kind of look a little bit low. I mean, this for example reminds me of Borderlands sort of graphics with the cell shading, even though it's kind of not supposed to be. Anyway, so one of the immersion breaking things for me is this combat like this. I've been able to basically sit on the ship and basically hammer away or chip away at the defences and weapons, and because you get pulled along with the ship, there's nothing this ship can do to get rid of me. I've been purely just sitting here and shooting the bits off of it. I feel, like I said, this is kind of immersion breaking because this ship should be able to do something to get rid of me. Like I said, I can just basically stay here as long as possible and just basically pick bits off. There's also a big blind spot in the middle of the ship, which I can go and hide. This is all kind of based or because of the one player ship issue, that this one ship needs to be capable of actually shooting and destroying everything. Oh, I got actually shot there. So if I just back into its blind spot and just take it out. So this one ship has to be capable of actually taking on other ships, and because it's pretty small, you can actually go and hide in blind spots. It's, like I said, with the inertia of the ship, you're just carried along. It means you have to do very little, and potentially you could destroy a massive ship with just the weakest gun. I think quite a while back I did it to a Xenon I, which is supposed to be one of the biggest ships in the game, and it was very immersion breaking seeing me just basically chipping away at it. Like I said, it took me probably about half an hour, 45 minutes I think of just firing. I primarily wanted to see if it was possible, but eventually it blew up and I felt kind of disappointed. But like I said, this is all kind of because of the one ship aspect, and I know it's something that version 3, 4, 5, whatever is not going to fix. It's because it's part of the game. But still, as I was saying earlier, if they do make another title, hopefully they won't allow this to happen again. Like I said, if the introduction of changeable ships should stop that. Like I said, this ship should not really be capable of doing much damage to the ship, primarily because of the size. It shouldn't be able to carry weapons that do that much damage to this ship. Like I said, and also that ship should be capable of getting rid of me in some way. But just to carry on like this is kind of completely immersion breaking for me, and hopefully if they do, they should fix this. So guys, in conclusion, version 4 is definitely a welcome change. There's quite a lot of fixes, there's quite a few big changes as well. I do like the bulletin board, that's a very good addition. Instead of having to look for them little icons which are barely visible, especially in 4K, you have got a proper menu for it. Setter was a bit of a strange thing. I kind of thought they might put it in a while back, because in the development stuff that was there, but they did spend a long time trying to convince me that setter was redundant, so to put it back in seemed a bit of a backstep. The Playership jump drive I could see being very useful. Like I said, having to travel miles and miles just to get somewhere wasn't very exciting, so that's a good thing. The crafting system, I'm not particularly 100% on that. Usually when there's implemented, it's not done very well. I didn't particularly look at it that detailed actually, but like I said, usually it's not that great. The in-game tutorials, I would say it's a bit loose because it's links to YouTube videos. Good they're there, but it could have been done a little bit better. The commonly login statistics, I usually find them more confusing. The trade menu, like I said, it's probably better, but I do find the whole trading aspect very confusing. The trading should be a lot more simpler, and it should be basically you pick up goods, you take it somewhere and sell them. But why Egosoft done a much more complicated system than that, I don't know. The combat has issues primarily because of the one playership. That's not something that's going to get fixed in Rebirth, I understand that, but hopefully something they could look at in the future game. I do know that I did touch on graphics earlier, and that's not something specifically aimed at Rebirth, but specifically, like I said, a future title. They spent a long time developing this game, well, the engine behind it, so they will try and probably use it on another game. I must commend Egosoft for continuously supporting their games. I know a lot of the developers would have ditched their game pretty quick. I do find Egosoft it's a bit of a strange company. They kind of do things half-heartedly, but they continuously do them. I do have some weird sort of vibes from them. I don't know why. But anyway, guys, if you enjoy Rebirth, then version 4 is definitely going to be a very welcome increase, especially with the Homer Light add-on, which, like I said, I haven't got, so I can't really check that one out for you. If you kind of like Rebirth, then obviously version 4 is going to be a nice increase. It's going to have some more features. But if some of the cool elements you just downright didn't like, then a patch is not going to fix it. But I do hope they have learned the lesson in the future. And like I said, if they are thinking of changing a lot of things, then I might be interested to learn a lot more about it. So guys, what did you think of this? Leave your comment suggestions below. What do you think of version 4? Have fun and see you later.